broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to Millennium News 24/7, your daily news local update. I'm Kella Price, your anchor. In our next story, police say a triple shooting Tuesday evening in Midtown Atlanta was likely over drugs. Investigators said that they were called to an apartment building in the area of 6th and West Peachtree Streets for the report of a shooting. Officers said that the shooting happened inside an apartment building, but at least 2 people left the scene. I can tell you we found a large number or a large amount of narcotics inside the apartment where this occurred, and we found multiple firearms there as well, Sergeant John Chaffee with the Atlanta Police Department said. Investigators said that the 2 men eventually showed up at the Grady Memorial Hospital with gunshot wounds and told officers that the shooting happened somewhere else. We've been to that location. We've checked that location. We found no evidence of a shooting having occurred there, Chaffee said. Everyone is said to be in stable condition. Chaffee said that they need everyone's help to make sure incidents like this don't happen in the future. It's frustrating to us. We cannot be everywhere to stop this stuff, Chaffee said. I want to reiterate that we need businesses, apartment complexes, to make sure that they are addressing criminal issues inside of their business, and neighbors to alert us to this kind of activity. In our next news story, the bodies of 3 teenagers were found in a Houston home on Tuesday afternoon and were due to a possible double homicide and suicide, according to Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. The teenagers were found at a home in the 4500 block of Woolstick Road, where a family member who lived nearby made the discovery, according to our NBC affiliate KPRC. Gonzalez said that there are 2 girls, possibly 17 years old, and a boy, possibly 15 years old, who were found with a weapon, which was confiscated from the home. But the sheriff said he could not disclose what kind it was, according to KPRC. As of this writing, a motive is not known. In a positive news story, Arthur Colberth has been brightening the mornings for students, parents, and drivers at Woodbine and Haverford Avenues in Philadelphia for almost 20 years. It's not necessarily what he says, but what he does. Everyone who crosses his path in Overbrook Park leaves in a good mood. Colberth is the crossing guard who blows air kisses to the cars he stops so that students and parents can cross the intersection. He's been at this post since 2004, spreading joy every morning. Letting everyone know that I'm out here, letting everyone know that their kids are safe and that I'm a friendly guy, said Colberth. I pretty much know all the cars. They don't know me personally. And while his charisma and energy are brightening up the days of those he meets, he says it's actually the other way around. They make my day because they're smiling and giving me kisses back. They blow kisses back at me, so that makes my day, said Colbert. I love when people spread good vibes, don't you? In our next news story, Philadelphia police are investigating a car theft that ended with a suspect being fatally shot. Police initially reported this as an attempted carjacking, but have since released new details about what happened. Police responded to the 5800 block of Cobbs Creek Parkway in southwest Philadelphia at about 8 a.m. after a suspect attempted to steal the victim's car. Sources told the Action News that the suspect attached yellow cables to attempt to tow away the car, but was shot by the homeowner who had come outside to see what was happening. The car broke off from the cables and the suspect's car ended up crashing into a school bus, sources said. The suspect was rushed to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where he died from his injuries. Police said the victim has a license to carry and was not injured. Tuesday's shooting is in the latest of a series of similar incidents. On Thursday, 60-year-old Oliver Neal said he was getting out of his car in West Mount Airy when two young men approached him and demanded his keys. Neal says one of them had a gun and pointed it 6 inches from his face, so Neal says he had no choice but to fire his weapon. He said, "Give me the keys." By then, I had my hand on my weapon and I saw him tighten his grip, and I knew I had to shoot, Neal said. I think he shot first, but I don't know. All I know is we went back and forth. I started shooting, and the next thing I know, he hops across the street, drops to the ground. I just kept shooting. Earlier last week, another driver in Fairmount described how he made the split second decision when the 18-year-old male suspect pointed a gun at him. I saw the gun and I thought he was going to shoot me and take the car. So I retaliated as fast as I could. And just to see another day, I had to shoot the guy, the victim said. Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw said the department will be using targeted patrols of both uniformed and plainclothes officers in what she called carjacking hotspots. She said that the department will also be working with the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office to help with investigations. A short break from the daily English news of Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to Millennium News 24/7 with your daily English local news update. I'm your anchor, Dr. Kella Price. In our next news story, Russia maintained a tough posture amid the tensions over its troop buildup near the Ukraine, with a top diplomat warning Wednesday that Moscow will accept nothing less than watertight U.S. guarantees precluding NATO's expansion to the Ukraine. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, who led the Russian delegation at the security talks with the US in Geneva last week, reaffirmed that Moscow has no intentions of invading Ukraine, as the West fears, but said that receiving Western security guarantees is the categoric imperative for Moscow. The talks in Geneva and a related NATO Russian meeting in Brussels last week were held as Russia amassed an estimated 100,000 troops near the Ukraine in what the West fears might herald an invasion. In a move that further beats up forces near the Ukraine, Russia has sent an unspecified number of troops from the country's far east to its ally, Belarus, which shares a border with the Ukraine, for major war games next month. Ukrainian officials have said that Moscow could use Belarusian territory to launch a potential multi-pronged invasion. In our next news story, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Western nations Wednesday to remain united in the face of what he called relentless Russian aggression against the Ukraine and reassured Ukraine's leader of their support. Blinken told Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky during a visit to Kiev that the US and its allies were steadfast in backing his country and its democratic aspirations amid growing fears of a potentially imminent Russian invasion. The Ukrainian people chose a democratic and European path in 1991. They took to the Maidan and to defend that choice in 2013. And unfortunately, ever since, have faced relentless aggression from Moscow, Blinken said, referring to Ukraine's trajectory since the collapse of the Soviet Union. Our strength depends on preserving our unity, and that includes unity within Ukraine, he said to Zelensky. I think one of Moscow's long-standing goals has been to try to sow divisions between and within our countries, and quite simply, we cannot and will not let them do that. The Biden administration said earlier it was providing an additional $200 million in defensive military aid to Ukraine to help protect its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Zelensky thanked Blinken for the assistance, which was approved in late December, but not formally confirmed until Wednesday, as well as for his visit and assurances of support. This military support not only speaks of our strategic plans of Ukraine joining the alliance, but more importantly, to the level of our military and our military supplies, he said, referring to Kiev's desire to join NATO over Russia's strong objections. In our next news story, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson defied calls to resign in a feisty performance Wednesday in Parliament, but it may be too little to prevent his Conservative Party's lawmakers from trying to oust him over a string of lockdown flouting government parties. Pressure on the Prime Minister grew as one Conservative lawmaker defected to the opposition Labour Party, and a former member of Johnson's cabinet told him, "In the name of God, go." The demand from the ex-Brexit minister, David Davis, came during a combative Prime Minister's question sessions in the House of Commons, where Johnson defended his government's record running the economy, fighting the crime, and combating the coronavirus pandemic. He also tried to brush aside questions about the Partygate scandal that threatens his career. "We delivered while they dithered," he said of opposition politicians, several of whom told Johnson he was regarded by Britons as a charlatan, a hypocrite, a liar, and stupid. The opposition Labour Party was boosted by the defection to their ranks of Conservative lawmaker Christian Wakeford, who told the Prime Minister, "Both you and the Conservative Party as a whole have shown themselves incapable of offering the leadership and government this country deserves." Johnson brushed aside calls to quit, but his defiant performance was met with muted cheers on the conservative side of the House of Commons. Conservative legislators are judging whether to trigger a no confidence vote in Johnson amid public anger over the Partygate scandal. It's a stunning reversal of fortune for a politician who just over 2 years ago led the Conservatives to their biggest election victory in almost 40 years. Under Conservative Party rules, a no confidence vote in the party's leader can be triggered if 54 party lawmakers write letters to a party official demanding it. Here in the United States, President Joe Biden largely has rallied European allies to pledge, as one, that they will take tough measures against Russia if rolls troops into Ukraine. But when it comes to what exactly the United States and Europe are willing to do, the allies haven't looked as united. Militarily, for example, the United States, Turkey, and Britain have stood out for supplying or agreeing to supply anti tank missiles, armed drones, naval warships, and other weapons, along with money to help Ukraine build its defenses. A British military flight taking weapons to Ukraine on Monday flew around German airspace rather than taking the most direct route through it. German officials suggested Wednesday that the issue was their paperwork requirement for such overflights rather than any allied dispute over arming Ukraine. Biden has warned Russian President Vladimir Putin of economic consequences like none he's ever seen if Russia invades Ukraine. But some major European allies have demonstrated less enthusiasm for huge economic penalties, which could damage some of the European economies or put in jeopardy the Russian natural gas that Europeans need to stay warm this winter. During weeks of intense diplomacy, Russian leaders have dismissed the allies' pledge of a united stand against Russia. In reality, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov insisted it's the US calling the shots. If the show of unity and the promises of repercussions have made Putin think twice, he's not showing it. Russia has sent some 100,000 troops towards the Ukrainian border, and US officials said Tuesday that they believed Russia was capable of launching an attack. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in Kiev on Wednesday, urging Ukraine and Europe to remain united. Even so, French President Emmanuel Macron gave one of the first public signals of a potential split. In a speech in Strasbourg, Macron called for a sweeping European proposal that would build a new security order on the continent to deal with Russia. A short break from the daily English news of a Millennium News 24/7. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Welcome back to our Millennium News 24/7 daily local news update. In our next story, new German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called Wednesday for a paradigm shift in the way the world approaches climate policy, saying his country would leverage its presidency of the group of 7 industrial nations this year to push for standards to fight global warming. Climate discussions have been a key theme this week at a World Economic Forum meeting, which is being held online after COVID-19 concerns delayed its annual gathering in Davos, Switzerland. Unlike events such as the UN Climate Conference last year in Glasgow, Scotland, the Davos meeting is more of a discussion about big ideas, not a place where concrete agreements are made on how to act. Critics regularly fault the Davos event, whose origins date to 1971, for hosting economic and political elites who voice high minded but often empty goals that are deemed out of touch with the needs of regular people. Schultz spoke about issues ranging from economic growth to Russia's military buildup along the Ukrainian border, focusing on Germany and the wider European Union's ambitions to fight climate change. In our next news story, major international airlines canceled flights heading to the US or changed the planes they're using on Wednesday, the latest complication in a dispute over concerns that the new 5G mobile phone service could interfere with aircraft technology. Carriers took widely different approaches to the brewing crisis affecting international travel, from the Middle Eastern airline Emirates drastically reducing its US bound flights to Air France saying it would fly as normal. It wasn't immediately clear why the airlines made those decisions or whether they took into account that mobile carriers AT&T and Verizon agreed this week to pause the rollout of the new high-speed wireless service near key airports. But some said they received warnings from the US FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, or Boeing that the planes maker 777 used by carriers worldwide was particularly affected by the new service. It was also not clear how disruptive the cancellations would be. Several airlines said that they would try to merely use different planes to maintain their schedules. Similar mobile networks have been deployed in dozens of other countries, but there are some key differences in how the US networks that could make it more likely to cause problems for these airlines. The new 5G networks use a segment of the radio spectrum that is close to those used by radio altimeters, which measure the height of an aircraft above the ground and help pilots land in low visibility. The US Federal Communications Commission, which sets a buffer between the frequency that 5G uses and the one that the altimeters use, determined that it could be used safely in the vicinity of air traffic. AT&T and Verizon have said their equipment will not interfere with aircraft electronics, but FAA officials saw a potential problem, and the telecom companies agreed to pause Tuesday while it is addressed. In our next story, a psychiatrist who has observed a Norwegian far-right extremist who killed 77 people in 2011 and is seeking an early release from prison said Wednesday that Anders Behring Breivik has the same diagnosis that he has had all along. Breivik is serving Norway's maximum 21-year sentence for setting off a bomb in Oslo's government district and carrying out a shooting massacre at a summer camp for left-wing youth activists. Under Norwegian law, he was eligible for his first parole hearing after 10 years. The hearing started Tuesday at the high-security prison in Skien, south of Oslo. Psychiatrist Randy Rosenquist said Wednesday that Breivik, age 42, has not changed the risk for future acts of violence compared to the way he was when she first assessed him in 2012. He is not consistent, and you cannot trust him, Rosenquist said while appearing as a witness for the prosecution. Speaking of Breivik's behavior since the massacre, she said that he changes tactics according to what he finds appropriate. He still has narcissistic traits. He still tends to construct scenarios. It is not psychotic, but he could, in several contexts, live out his fables in reality, the psychiatrist said. Though experts agree Breivik is highly unlikely to be released, authorities have insisted that he has the same rights as any other prisoner, arguing that treating him differently would undermine the principles that underpin Norwegian society, including the rule of law and the freedom of speech. Breivik has made full use of his rights at the 3-day hearing, despite being held in isolation with 3 cells at his disposal. He said Tuesday that he had renounced violence, even as he professed white supremacist views and flashed Nazi salutes. They give everyone a chance. Why can I also not get a chance? Breivik said Wednesday while questioning from his lawyer, Øystein Storvik. I've been crushed into atoms for the last 10 years. I have changed so much that it is not possible to change anymore, Breivik said. Emily Kroken, a jurist with the Norwegian Correctional Service who works at the prison where Breivik is held, said Skien prison authorities believe that there is imminent danger that he will again commit serious crimes for which he has been convicted if he is released at the present time. There is an imminent danger of violence or terror if released. The conditions are not enough to safeguard social protection, Kroken said. In our next story, decades ago, Mexican activists drove women into the United States to terminate their pregnancies at clinics. Now it's women in the US who are facing more challenges to accessing abortion services, and again, Mexican activists are stepping up to offer support. The changing dynamic has to do with a reversal of the legal fortunes of abortion rights on both sides of the border and the expertise of Mexican activists in helping women overcome legal and social barriers. In September, Mexico's Supreme Court issued a decision declaring that abortion was not a crime in the heavily Roman Catholic nation. That same month, the most restrictive abortion law in the United States went into effect here in Texas. And the US Supreme Court is expected to rule on a case this year that could throw out the 1973 decision guaranteeing women access to abortion, potentially allowing nearly 24 states already with laws in place to severely restrict or ban abortion. We want to create networks to put the pills in the hands of women who need them, especially immigrants and women in vulnerable situations, said Veronica Cruz, director of Las Libres, or the Free, an abortion advocacy group in Mexico. The pills Cruz refers to are misoprostol and mifeprostone, a 2-drug combination used for medical abortions during the first 12 weeks. Misoprostol, which was used to treat ulcers, doesn't need medical prescription in Mexico and can end a pregnancy alone, but is more effective in combination with mifepristone, which does need a prescription, but the advocate groups get for free from donors. This was your daily local news update of Millennium News 24/7. Log in to get the latest news on all of our social networking sites, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, where you can find us at Millennium News 24. Also, check out our YouTube channel, News Channel M24. Viewers can now watch on both network broadcasting Android and iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and also all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment and our latest news and views. Our Millennium TV apps are Millennium TV USA on Android and Millennium News on Google. I'm Dr. Price, your anchor, signing off.